Many of us strive to be the best versions of ourselves in the workplace. We set seemingly impossible goals. We battle to achieve them. Often in that pursuit, we forget to take the same level of care and diligence with ourselves and with the ones we love the most. LodeStar is about those moments, the ones that shape go-to-market journeys and the humans behind them. We'll dive into the wins, the mistakes, and the lessons that don't fit neatly into a playbook. Hey everyone, Cliff Simon here. Welcome back to another episode of LodeStar. I'm joined today by Amos, the co-founder and CEO of Swan AI, your new favorite go-to-market engineer in a box.
Wow, amazing. Pleasure to be here, Cliff. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks for making the way from Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
For folks who don't know you, mind giving like a quick intro and background on where you come from?
Yeah, so co-founder of Swan AI, we're kind of like building the first autonomous business on a mission to scale to $10 million ARR per employee. It's kind of like the first business that is designed from the ground up towards human AI collaboration rather than human to human coordination. So really trying to reinvent the playbook. It's not my first rodeo. I've built and scaled 2 companies before that, 2 B2B startups. And this one is really kind of like an experiment to push the boundaries of human efficiency. My 2 previous companies, I've built and scaled them based on the old unicorn growth at all costs model.
Triple, double.
Exactly. And what you triple and double actually is a lot of bullshit in that playbook. Basically, that's the game. You know, you raise a ton of money before you know who you're selling to. You grow to 40, 50 people before you get to your first $1 million in revenue. And then you're scaling your vision and total addressable market from round to round just to get to the next one. And sooner or later, you realize that you built your entire company on a very sick foundation. There's a lot of fat to trim, and you know that, and it's hard to maneuver. And when I came to Swan, I feel like there's AI agents here right now. We launched Swan 18 months ago, a little bit less than that, and I realized the reality has changed. It is really time has come to reinvent the playbook of how you scale a company from 0 to 1, from 1 to 10, and me and my 2 co-founders, Ido and Neve, we had like all that initial skill set that you need. Neve is an amazing technologist. Ido is an amazing product. And I do growth. I know how to tell a story, get people to listen, and then turn that into revenue. And when you look at it from a skills perspective, that's all you need. So we said, you know what? F it. Okay, we're not going to hire anyone at the beginning. Let's try to do it ourselves. Just ourselves, and build AI agents to empower ourselves. And in 2025, just the 3 founders, we scaled from 0 to over 200 customers. We did like that proof of concept that this could be done, basically. And like our secret was, I think, that we didn't try to hire digital employees. It's not like you say, oh, we're not gonna hire SDRs, we're gonna build an AI SDR. It wasn't about that. What we always was obsessing about is like, how can we create the 100x seller, the 100x product, the 100x engineer? And that mindset changed everything about how we build and interact with AI agents.
It's interesting, right? Because as we look more into AI and the way that everyone's leveraging it, it's not AI that's using people, right? It's not taking over people's jobs by and large. What we're seeing is the people who know how to leverage it are able to get so much more productivity. But there are inefficiencies in the way that people are leveraging it and how they're using it. So what are you guys doing differently for you and your team as you continue to expand to leverage AI in order to get 100x output? You're doubling up on Grant Cardone there. So
it's called an autonomous business. That's how we call this playbook, and for a reason. It's not just because there's like a bunch of agents that do an autonomous work. What we're actually trying to maximize is autonomy of humans and AI working in tandem. And we have this framework that we look at the zone of genius of each person on the team. What we try to do is put that person within their zone of genius all the time. What's their zone of genius? That that intersection between their passions and skills that creates this disproportionate value creation for the company. And what we try doing is identify what's that zone of genius of that person on the team, and then try to automate what's outside of that zone of genius and amplify what's within. And this might seem a little bit intuitive, but it's actually flipping on its head the scaling model, because a traditional company says, we have a target, we need bodies to get to that target.
Yep.
We're going to put you in that box because that's the box we need, and you're going to help scale the company. And autonomous business appreciates the fact that in an AI native world, talent is the most scarce thing, and human ingenuity and expertise and taste, that's the most important thing that we're going to look for. And so what we're trying is to scale our employees, and the entire system is designed to take each person on a team and in an iterative continuous process constantly thrive to put them in their zone of genius, automate what's outside and amplify what's within. And that's how you can get eventually to that 100x seller version.
I feel like I was trying to do portions of this back at Caribbean, and we're like, how can I put systems and processes around me to amplify my work in order to then have more time and ability to leverage across the team that I'm managing, et cetera, right?
I love that. I feel like when people ask me, what's the most important skill in an AI native world? First of all, that's a good question to ask. The narrative has changed a bit. We woke up from this, all the vendors tried selling us initially like AI is going to take your job. Right? We had like these AI SDR startups telling us, yeah, we're going to take these SDR roles. And then we had like these AI CMO role, companies saying we're going to take the CMO job. Everyone was just hunting the jobs. Initially, that was like the first wave. But like the second wave, Swan, we feel like part of that wave and leading that wave especially is that we're stopped asking like what jobs will exist. And it's more like what is the skill set, right? And
roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. I feel like in a world where AI can execute, everything. And we have this unlimited, I call it engineering capacity. We're going to talk about that later on, I hope. But what left basically is to give AI the right context on how to do the work itself. Because without it, it's mediocre work, even less than that. And I always love telling people that you get the smartest person in the room and they don't know anything about your business, they won't help you. And so
context is so important.
Context is the new oil in this new economy that we're living. The skill set, if you break down context actually to what does that mean, there's actually three things. It's systems thinking, process thinking, and best practices. Okay? These are the three layers that are important when you're communicating with AI, basically. So let's take that and break it down. So let's assume that you want to improve your inbound leads, speed to lead. You want to use AI for that. You just tell AI, improve my speed to lead, would do terrible work, right? But if you start by breaking down the process, explaining, okay, like the first thing is that we have like someone requests a demo on our website, and then usually like we want to research them and qualify them, and then like there's a scoring and we assign them, then we want to reach out and like create a task for someone to follow up, etc. So that's the process mapping. Then the second thing is you say, okay, what's the system thinking here? You want to say, that inbound comes from Chili Piper, and then it goes to HubSpot. And then there's a record. These are the properties in HubSpot that actually gets filled up. We want to create a task inside HubSpot and push a Slack notification, right? So that's the system thinking. And then finally, you apply best practices, which is the most important thing. What is good? How does good looks like? And how does bad looks like? You apply human judgment. Without it, you won't know actually how to follow that process.
Get a little wiggle in there.
Exactly.
How do you continue to build this out then?
What we identified is like the bottleneck when you scale an autonomous business and you have like this infinite capacity of AI to harness becomes two things mainly. One, we talked about is like context engineering. Okay, so it's not about GTM engineering. You don't need to invest time building workflows, connecting systems, writing code. It's not about that. It's more about like what should we do and how should we do it? And these are like the three layers. That's one thing. The second thing, which is interesting, mental capacity. So you can't be everywhere all at once, and you can't care about everything all at once. And it's about ownership and accountability. And that is another bottleneck that we're hitting. When we were just the three of us, so I was like in charge of the entire funnel from awareness to expansion, right? And as the company grew, I felt like I just don't have the mental capacity to care about both our prospects that are interacting with my content on LinkedIn, for example, also for folks that are hopping on demos, and also for customers that are expanding. I didn't have the mental capacity to think about it. And so we realized that we need to grow the team. We added 2 more players to the team to be accountable for sales and customers. And so now we feel like it's completed from a mental capacity. Like, I care about growth. I want it to be there. That's my zone of genius, telling stories to people and sharing like our movement and what we're trying to build. Then we brought Jeremy Hurst to the team to care about sales, to care about prospects. And we brought Noah, our VP AI Ops, to care about our customers and our customer operations. And I feel like that unblocked a lot of things the moment that we had that mental capacity again for these types of jobs.
Self-imposing, right? You want to get to 10 million in revenue per employee. Do you ever feel like the pressure to get that level of output per person is a hindrance to the way that you're trying to build a business? Like, it feels like there's got to be a constant tug and pull. Like, what is the most vital next thing that we must be doing?
Because we went like a different route, it's not the traditional VC route. We raised money, like we raised $6 million, but from investors that get it, that we're building. Thank you, appreciate that. For investors that get it, that we're building a different company, and we may not raise anymore because we don't need a lot of capital. So we're not chasing the unicorn playbook in the sense that the pressure comes from the outside. Okay.
Yep.
And you need to get to the the next milestone to get to the next round.
Sure.
You don't have that. So as a CEO, first of all, I always ask myself, is the team really doing their best? And I feel like it's the responsibility of the CEO a lot of the time to make sure that everyone is at their peak performance. And the autonomous business mission kind of pushes everyone to try to be at their peak performance constantly. And then there's a balance. Are we pushing people too hard? I prefer to be in a place where we're maybe pushing people too hard, and then try to think about their mental health and try to help with that. But I prefer to be on that side and then try to bring it like back to mental health and try to bring it back to wellness, instead of just being like, yeah, we're super chill and how do I push them?
Having hired a ton of people over the last several years, the one thing I always tell people is I'm not looking for 3 to 5 months of your A+ game. I want 3 to 5 years of your A-. I want 92% capacity out of you, like capability for the next 3 to 5 years. And I don't want you to ever burn out. But like, I always want to make sure that you're like pushing yourself.
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like that is a smart way, and maybe comes from a lot of experience that you have.
Sure.
The problem that you have when you're building an autonomous business is redundancy, actually. There's like a direct linear correlation between autonomy and redundancy. So the more you give an autonomy to an employee, it means that they can do things on their own. The more they do stuff on their own, the less other people know what they're doing and how to do those stuff.
Say, how do you keep everyone up to date on what everyone else is doing? Because if you've hired people that are good at finding gaps and understand what a business might need to move forward, what prevents them from, because of the speed at which you're building, to be working on the same thing in a parallel manner that may not be copacetic at the same time, and then all of a sudden you guys get back together next Monday on the weekly stand-up, and you're like, oh, I did this, and you're like, oh, I did that, Yeah,
it's a great question, and it's a challenge, but I would say that, first of all, the underlying assumption of an autonomous business is that the coordination tax of the traditional scaling model is just huge and underestimated. The amount of resources and energy that you're spending on coordination, because you are building in this hierarchical, old model of, employees should scale the company. So there's like tons of coordination, and there's a lot of like unnecessary managerial layers and approval layers and meetings and bureaucracies that you build in the company. And autonomous business starts like on the total opposite. It's like zero coordination tax. You gain a lot of speed because of that. But problems like you mentioned, like coordination, can emerge from that. The way that we're solving for it right now, first of all, is that is ownership. Okay, so there's like super uber clear ownership in the company. Like there's just one person,
lots of racy.
One person who cares about sales,
yep.
And there's one person who cares about customers, and there's just one person who cares about a product, and there's just one person who cares about growth, and there's just one person who cares about the technology. Okay, and like that's it, right? So the amount of overlap is like, from the beginning, is like smaller.
It's de minimis, yeah.
Because they're optimizing for different stuff. So they might be interacting. So what could happen is like you're interacting with the same person because, sales, customer, and growth thought of like, this is a good opportunity to reach out, right?
Yeah.
But what usually happens is that, so they might have been bombarded a bit with us, but that's like actually a good place to be, because these were different point of views and different value adds, right? there still is some overlaps, and still you want to, you know, sales should work with growth and with customers and like and with product, and you got to create that collaboration and feedback loops within the company. So it's not like we don't talk to each other for months, but I would say that ownership is the key for that to solve a lot of these overlaps.
Because the old axiom is, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together.
100%. A challenge from a CEO perspective that I feel like, you know, it's my responsibility a lot of the time when you're maximizing autonomy is alignment, right? And I love how you, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go together. I'll take that out of this conversation. I feel like a lot of my job is alignment, basically. So I should be able to understand where we need to be in 6 months, 12 months, and 5 years. What I care about is make sure that everyone are doing their day-to-day job. They can raise their head, kind of like tell them, you know what, let's stand next to me. Let's look out of this cliff, by the way, and look with me like towards the 6-month threshold, 12-month threshold, 5-month threshold.
Sure.
5 years threshold, and let's try to make sure that we're aligned on that. And by the way that this company is built is that they don't need to necessarily agree with me just because I'm the CEO. And when you truly want to maximize autonomy, you want to have like everyone has their own opinion.
Sure.
For that, and you need to earn your right to tell a story and for people to believe in that story. And sometimes I do feel like I'm telling something to a person on the team and they don't fully believe me or fully follow like my line of thought, and I feel like okay, I need to work harder here, and I need to maybe find more proof, or I need to do something else here to just, you know, make sure that the alignment is tighter.
I totally get that. I feel like as a CEO, your job is to be a vision caster, to be the chief storyteller, to go ahead of the team to tell them what's coming, so that they can do the things that they need to do to prepare and to build and to execute.
100%.
All right, let's change tact a little bit. We're sitting here in New York. You're not from here. You got a family back at home. What's it like to be on the road, especially as you guys are now growing into this market? What's that like? Right, married. How many kids do you have?
I have one kid. Ethan.
Okay. What's his name? I'm sorry.
Ethan.
Ethan. Okay.
2 years old. I miss him a lot. I've never been away from home as long as I've been right now. 15 days. We did like a roadshow on the East Coast, throwing some events here, like you said, trying to, you know, grow our footprint in the market, like boots on the ground with events, the real thing, not just LinkedIn posts. And I come from Tel Aviv, which is, you know, a long drive, you could say. I realized that I can't really do like 2 days here and 3 days here. Okay, let's do a whole roadshow. And so we landed on 15 days, and that was super hard for my wife and kid. Super hard for both of them. So my kid just reached the age where like he's aware of the fact that I'm away for that long, and he needs to like reconcile with his reality. Like, what does that mean that Papa is away for that long? Like, how is it even possible? Why is that happening? And like you say, you know, Daddy is at work, but that had like a different definition before I went, because, you know, I just went for the day. And it still felt long for him, right? And I told him like I was at work, right? So now you just to try to recalibrate his definition of like Daddy is at work, which is like mind-boggling for him. And then a lot of pressure on my wife, a lot of pressure of, you know, she has a full-time job, and you know, the kid is sick, so she wakes up at night and then needs to wake up in the morning and then need to pick him up, etc. So I do feel like that there's a cost.
There's a cost to everything, right? Yeah. There's a cost to everything in life.
Yeah, and we try to chase that perfect situation where we're not losing anything, right? We're always on chasing that.
There's always some cost benefit analysis, right? Like,
I'm not that type of a person. I feel like I'm very much of a present person. I love to think about, to optimize for like what's good for me now. But when I explain to myself like why am I doing what I'm doing right now, I tell myself that it will benefit me for the long run. The fact that I'm investing so much of my family resources into this game, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a similar kind of conversation with my wife, and I think the one fallacy or trap that you could potentially fall into is the goalpost shifting, because it's always like the next thing, or like to the like what is that next milestone, and does that milestone hit? Does it not hit? Does it shift? Yeah, I think that's always an interesting conversation.
I want to tell myself, and I'll get to that goalpost, see if I kick it and move it again. But I want to tell myself that whenever I'll build generational wealth, I'll be able to like step down.
What's the
And
definition of generational wealth?
that's a good question. I'm not a person who really enjoys, buying like a Lamborghini or something like that. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to feel like I'm working not because I need money. That's the definition of generational wealth, and I know it's just recursive and it doesn't make sense. But it's not like I want to retire and just live on a yacht or something. That's not my dream, actually. Just I want to get free of this obligation to need to supply and satisfy the family needs for food and a shelter and things like that. Just be able to, if I don't work like for 2 years, everything is okay. We got everything covered. So like whenever I get to that position, and I want to live a good life. It's not like I want to live on the street, of course, right? I want to live in a beautiful house. I want to live in a beautiful garden and things like that. I hope that the appetite will get full at the end. Like it's not like an endless rabbit hole that I'm just pushing towards, and I'll get to that position and I'll stop there. But that goalpost analogy, I'm afraid of it, like, to be honest.
It takes one to know thyself, right? Sure, financial independence, I think all those things are like interesting goals, but like for me, it's like the solving of the problems and the game and the hustle and like just going after it and building it. Like I'm addicted to the game.
My hope, maybe it's naive, is that I can still play that game, but just at a much lower intensity. I will find myself, like I will find that niche that I can actually play a game. That's why I don't want to retire. Like I love, I feel like a big part of my life is to create stuff. Like I believe in like creation and building stuff. And I think that's what's beautiful about life. You create things into this world and you get other people to appreciate that. And it's important for me, what other people think about my creation. Like I want to continue doing so, but in a way that I will also get good feedback and my ego like will feel good about it, etc. But I could just went on a vacation for a week and nothing will happen, and I could just go home like at 2 p.m. and nothing will happen. And like that's my naive hope for myself, that eventually I can get to that place.
I think it's possible. I think most of it is internal versus external, though.
What do you mean by that?
At least for me, right? To be at enough of an equilibrium that I feel comfortable taking a step back and not pushing myself. Because I'm at a point right now with like my team. They're fantastic. They can manage 90% of the day-to-day stuff of what's going on with the client engagements and everything else. I don't need to be involved to the extent that I am. I do it because I'm interested and because I, again, love solving the problems. But I was just gone for a week and I maybe got on like 5 calls total and everything's fine.
Amazing.
Nothing's on fire. Nothing's been broken beyond being fixed.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is just letting go a lot of the time, letting go of control. And I have this intuition, maybe that is wrong, that like that fire needs me right now. It needs me right now. No, I just can't. I can't. If I won't respond, if I won't react, if I won't intervene, like it will go terribly wrong. If you want to go far and not fast, then you got to be able to control these situations better and say, you know what, it's not that bad. It will be okay. Like trust them, they will fix it. And maybe they won't fix it like you will fix it, but they will fix it. Maybe they're missing your point of view here. But if you look like 60 days from now, that won't move a needle at all. And I feel like I don't have that skill yet. I'm obsessive about it. I feel like, I got to do that. And I got to do that.
Well, I think like you said, right, you might not be done the way that you would have done it, but maybe it got 70% of the way, 80% there, 90% of the way there. And if you don't give other people the opportunity to walk forward with something and fail or get it right or a mixture, right? And it doesn't give you the opportunity, one, to coach them and to help them get better. It doesn't give them the opportunity to get the experience in that or to get the perspective of having gone through it, which means you're not creating that next line of capability. Because what's the sign of any good leader? You're supposed to be able to replace yourself, right?
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir. Autonomous business is about autonomy. It's about pushing people to be able to drive things end to end on their own without me. But I do feel like a lot of executives think that they could hire people and they will take work off their table. I don't believe in that. I feel like it's the opposite. Like when you bring someone on, it means that there's more work now. You need to take care of them. Like you need to make sure that they're succeeding. Right. And if you brought someone and there's just less work, then maybe there wasn't a lot of work in the beginning to have, and you just said, I don't want to do that, and I don't have time for that. I don't want it. Not like I don't have time. I don't want to do that. So let's just have someone else do that, right? But if you're growing and there is a real need here,
there's always something else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just where does it sit on the prioritization list? If I can hand off some other high priority things to folks, then I can take the next thing that it was a priority, right?
Yeah, but the thing that added here is that you need to take care of that employee. You need to make sure that you're coaching them.
Sure.
And you're sending them in the right direction. Maybe you're onboarding them. Maybe you're making sure that there's a lot of context that you don't know about the business that you need to make sure that they have, right? So like I do feel like when you're bringing in a new employee, there's a lot of more work that they create for you, and you need to understand that. If you're not understanding that, then this have high chances of failing.
Yeah, and then like, are they the right fit for the culture? How do they integrate with the team? Do they do things of their own initiative? And do they feel like they have the agency to go be successful, right? Yeah.
We have this rule for Swan when we hire someone, we try to ask ourselves, do they have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control? So does that mean, say that you're hiring a seller. That seller, you can ask them, what needs to happen for you to be successful in your first 60 days. Then you have like two types of seller. One type would say, yeah, my territory needs to be good. And, I need to get like hot MQLs, and, marketing should be very well. Like if there's a good marketing team, like, yeah, I'm going to be fire. And then there's that other type of seller that says, yeah, I got to learn the ICP well, and I need to make sure that I'm like my workflow really aligns with the CRM and these capabilities. I need to understand like how I do it. It's like they talk about themselves, and so the latter has an internal locus of control. They're not depending on other people to think that if they will be successful or not. They're not waiting for other people, and I feel like that's something that we all share at the company. It's like we have a very strong internal locus of control, and that correlates with it. If you give them more autonomy, then they'll just be better, right? But if you have an external locus of control, these people, if you give them more autonomy, so a lot of the time,
I think it's a difference between almost generational, right? Like folks that are my age, I'm not sure how old you are, but like I'm on the older side for millennials,
you have a better hairline, but I think that you're older than me. Yeah,
yeah, that's fair. We learned in a different world, right? The SDR role didn't exist when I got into selling, right? We walked door to door. We got staplers thrown at you. You got chased out of building by security. Like that was a reality. And you learned to deal with defeat. You learned to deal with victory. But along the way, you also had to do critical thinking, and you were responsible for building your own book of business. And then by and large, for the last 10, 15 years, you had a ton of people come through that they got really good at one confined compartment of the buying journey. And because of that, like they're comfortable there, they know how to do that, but they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that.
Yeah. There's a saying, tough times creates tough people, that creates easy times, that creates stupid people. That creates tough times again. That's how like the cycle goes.
Yeah, something
so
just
yeah,
like
so
that.
ZERP, that was easy times that created a lot of spoiled people, and that growth at all costs playbook. If you had a challenge, just throw more money at it, right? And for a lot of the not a lot of all the listeners will feel like that, but that's like happened in the tech scene, where like every challenge that you had, you just threw more money at it, and those days are over, right? The reality right now is different. You got to be more resilient and competent and comprehensive in your work.
It almost feels like to me that we're going back to the way businesses used to be run, a balanced P&L.
Yeah.
Right?
Just regular business. Yeah, just try to earn money and make a profit. Yeah.
I remember explaining to my in-laws, this is before my wife and even got married, because I've been in SaaS for a while at that point. They're like, wait, company does what? They don't make money, but they've raised how much? What does that mean to raise? Like, it's just such an interesting concept for folks who had, built a business from the ground up and run it for 40 years.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. Yeah.
That built actual things that you could touch. It wasn't just some software that you logged into, right? And this ethereal thing living on a data center somewhere in the middle of Nebraska or whatever, Is there anything else that you'd like to say or anything else you want to cover real quick?
No, yeah. If the autonomous business concept got you excited, then you can follow me on LinkedIn, where I share a lot about this content. And I have a newsletter as well that I share like the behind the scenes of the journey of how we're building this autonomous business, you know, the wins and losses. So you can follow me there as well and join the ride.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching another episode of LodeStar, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.